Okay, for the purpose of time, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. This webinar is being recorded, so if there's any information that you missed throughout this webinar, we're happy to send along the recording after this evening. So wanted to welcome you. Good evening. We're excited to kick off the Cohort 8 application period with tonight's webinar. As you can see from our agenda, this webinar is designed to give you a jump start on your application process, which opens on January 18th and closes on March 5th. During the webinar, we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get an overview of the selection process, gain additional information on the initial application, including exemplar resume practices and addendum guidance. And finally, our team is here to answer any additional questions that you may have about the program and application process. So to start with, want to just take a couple minutes to introduce myself and the team. Some leaders are on this call today on video, and then some are in the background supporting. My name is Kim Tang. I'm the Chief Network Strategy Officer, and I, alongside my team, Director Gabby Feltner, Senior Associate Ali Galanek, and Events Associate Keisha Moore, oversee the vision and direction and programming for our Future Chiefs program. We're also joined tonight by two of our esteemed Chief in Residence, Pete Gorman, who provides the coaching and support for our future chiefs, and Barbara Jenkins, who provides additional support and mentorship through our Women in Leadership Initiative, Search Coaching, and Rising Stars Initiative. Finally, we're honored this evening to be joined by Anna Wolfowitz, who is the Managing Director of Career Strategy and Coaching at Workmonger, who will be here this evening to provide some resume tips as you prepare your application. A few logistics as we get started. First, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a question and answer period at the end of this webinar. If you have any questions as we progress through the presentation, there are a couple ways in which you can send your question. First, you can just send it straight through that chat function and we'll jot down those questions. The other way is by submitting your questions via email to ktang@chiefsforchange.org. We're going to attempt to answer all questions in the order in which they're received. With that, I want to start by diving into the Future Chiefs program and tell you a little bit about this program. If you have been in our materials before, this slide will likely look familiar to you. I want to highlight a few things related to Chiefs for Change. We're committed to building and maintaining a network of diverse district and state chiefs who work together to create and sustain real change for students across the nation. We do this in a myriad of ways, including through advocacy, the sharing and implementing of promising practices, and through building a pipeline of talented, diverse future chiefs ready to lead major school systems. So let's highlight for a second who these ideal candidates are. You'll see on the screen a list of a profile for the ideal candidates, but I did want to elevate a few main things here. First, on top of having a clear alignment to Chiefs for Change's core beliefs, we're looking for rising superintendents who are in current cabinet level roles in districts and states and report directly to the superintendent, or are sitting chiefs in districts with serving students serving 10K or less 10K or less student population. The program's purpose is to ensure readiness and ultimately help our future chiefs land the top role. That means that the strongest applicants must be ready to apply for the superintendency in 2024 through 2025. We also highly encourage geographic flexibility. In full transparency, to address the need for the diversity at the top, our organization has also made a commitment to preparing cohorts of 8 to 10 future chiefs that are bipartisan, geographically diverse, and aim to be at least 75% leaders of color and 50% women. Our future chiefs enter a fellowship that is an 18-month cohort experience focused on providing highly customized and individualized supports facilitated by previous and current highly successful superintendents, some of which you see on the call this evening. As a future chief, your learning experience will include individualized coaching, shadowing, and participation in virtual and in-person sessions that help develop the skills and networks you need to build on your existing success and prepare for the challenges in the role ahead. In addition, our women are able to access our Women in Leadership programming designed specifically for female future chiefs. I'm going to pass it to Barbara to speak briefly about our Women in Leadership initiative.
Thanks, Kim. So in 2018, after we launched our Future Chiefs program, we started to see great success. Our future chiefs were landing some top spots all over the country. And yet, when we broke down the data of the results by gender, there were some glaring gaps. We were falling behind when it came to our women, failing to change their odds and likelihood of reaching the CEO position. In fact, we know from research that women at cabinet level positions are less likely to pursue the top job than their male counterparts. And I would add, quite frankly, they are often just as qualified, if not more so. So we sought to confront this challenge through our Women in Leadership initiative to support and grow our women leaders. Look at the data. In 2018, only 7% of our women obtained a state or district chief role compared to 42% of our men. And more than 3 times as many men, future chiefs, actually entered a search than the future chiefs that were women. So women were holding back from even applying for the superintendent positions. A single programming event turned that data around. It became a formalized network of future chiefs and chiefs who were females. Our results, I'm happy to say, speak to the success of this initiative. To date, 17 women have been named as chiefs. We've increased from 23% applying to 82% of our women future chiefs applying for the position with confidence. We are very pleased with this increase, and our Women in Leadership are committed to continuing to support one another. Women who are selected for a Future Chiefs cohort are automatically welcomed into this group of bold leaders. Gabby?
Thanks, Barbara. As Barbara mentioned, we're really proud of our future chiefs and the impact that they're making across the country. So let's talk a little bit about our Future Chiefs program and the impact by numbers. Of our alumni future chiefs, in the first 7 cohorts, 57% have stepped into chief roles. 79% of those future chiefs who have become chiefs are leaders of color, and 52% are women. All are current or former state and local leaders committed to ensuring all students have a quality education. So we currently have 33 chiefs who have become chiefs in our program across the country, 5 of which became chiefs in 2023, which you can see on the screen there. What you'll notice is that 3 of the chiefs are from our current cohort. However, you'll notice that 2 are from previous cohorts. Once you're a future chief, we are committed to helping you land the top spot, regardless of when you join our network. As you can see, we've had a lot of success with our program, and we believe a big part of that begins with our selection process. So I'm going to walk you through a high-level overview of our selection process. So our first round includes the initial application that requires you to submit your resume and addendum with evidence of impact. Round 2 includes a video interview with our Chiefs for Change team and our chiefs in residence. Our third round requires finalists to submit video responses. And then our last round, which happens concurrently with the third round, requires all finalists to submit references. Our team will speak with your current supervisor and another professional reference. So before we dig into the application process, we just like to take a few minutes to discuss some key questions and insights you all should consider if you'd like to apply for our Future Chiefs program. And for that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Pete Gorman, our Chief in Residence.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you. A little bit of the background to make sure you're crystal clear on, is this the right time for you to do this program? Want to make sure you understand where we fit in on the spectrum. You can pursue activities such as graduate school or academies or continuing to grow in your experience. All important programs. Those are important things to do before Chiefs for Change, but Chiefs for Change is not focused on that. We're like a finishing school. We help you go the last mile. You don't have to do those other options first. We're just saying that is not who we are. We are the last piece to get you there in your preparation. We're able to pick the best prepared individuals, and those individuals, they know about us and what we believe in. Go to our website, read about us, understand who we are. Make sure we are the right fit for you. And what we what we emphasize are the areas that match your beliefs and what you are looking to do. Now, with that, we are looking for people with that track record of success. I want you to ask yourself this question. Are there 3 words that are getting me there, or are there 5 words that are getting me there? Those 3 words that will let you down are, how would you? The 5 words that will lead you to success, tell me about a time. We're looking for people who can specifically tell us about an experience doing that work. It is not aspirational. It is actual in the work that we do. We're looking for data, numbers, quantification of what you've done. Next slide, please. You also have to make sure that you are not only in the right space with the work, but make sure you are where you need to be with your life. When you look in the mirror, do you see someone prepared? That is step 1. But step 2 is, are you ready? Are you ready? When you sit down and talk it over with family, when you're talking with friends, are you ready to make the decision and apply? And are you ready to potentially pick up and move to go on and take those challenges? We need individuals who are fully ready to make that move. The next slide, I'll dive in a little more exactly what I mean by that. We're looking for candidates who, from when they enter the program, are looking to apply. That means at that moment, they are thinking about what options are available. Individuals who are thinking in 2026, I'd like to apply, this would not be the right cohort for you. Wait till another cohort. But folks who are ready to get in the game and impact kids' lives in positive ways, we need you and we want to work with you and help you. But you need to be ready now. And we need to have a broad enough spectrum of opportunities you are considering to make you a viable candidate and not a single district candidate. What do I mean by that? I want to be a chief, so I'd like to be in Future Chiefs program, but I really just want to be the chief of the district where I work. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for individuals who have some diversity of options that they are able to look at, so we are not so single focused, because we've seen it happen multiple times entering into this with the one dream district. I got my heart broken by a school district, and my heart was so happy 2 months later when another district selected me, when I got to be superintendent in Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools in Charlotte, North Carolina. You've got to be willing to look at multiple opportunities. Now, the final thing I'd like to share with you is this. We are looking for individuals who are, as we call it, a heartbeat away. Who is a heartbeat away? That's individuals who've been involved with all aspects of the complex organization. If you are a chief academic officer, you're involved in more than just that. If you're a chief operating officer, you're involved in more than just that. You have a seat in the table and you are directly engaged with quantifiable impacts, that you have had in your school district or your area in academics, finance, operations, facilities, human resources, community relations, communications. And an incredibly important part is governance. Our most effective candidates interact with boards regularly. They're in closed session. They are doing that type of thing, that they are engaging regularly in the position and roles, that are similar to what it takes to be a successful superintendent. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share a little bit more about the program. And I'm now going to pass it over to Anna.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. So I always like to talk to job seekers or those who are positioning themselves for new roles or fellowships about the fact that anytime there is an opening within an organization, it represents a problem, a skill gap, a capacity gap, a mindset gap, or some combination of those things. When you think about the problem that Chiefs for Change is trying to solve, is they're finding people, just as Pete said, who are just a heartbeat away from taking on complex challenges leading complex school systems nationally. And your job as an applicant to Chiefs for Change is to show that you are uniquely positioned to solve that problem. And so your resume, that's your marketing document. That is the way that you are going to really explicitly and compellingly communicate your ability to step into that chief role. So your resume, it's your opportunity to share what you've done, how you've added value. And when I say value, I mean ample proof points, data points. Your resume, it should not read as a job description. We know what a chief operating officer does. We know what a chief academic officer does. We know what the superintendent of a school district does. We just don't know if you're good at it. And so your resume, it's your chance to tell that story with a ton of data, and to also share your qualifications. I'll also share that many of the people who are going to be applying for Chiefs for Change, they're going to have a similar career trajectory. They might have gone from teacher to principal to deputy, director of academics, and so on and so on. And so your resume, again, it's your chance to differentiate yourself from the other people who are going to be applying for Chiefs for Change in the Future Chiefs program. So here's some recommendations of things you should do on your resume. And these are not hard or fast rules, but these are best practices we would encourage you to follow. So number one, aim for a 3 to 4 page document. And I'll say that I've been partnering with Chiefs for Change for going on 3 years now. And so I've worked with many of the future chiefs and members whose resumes, they might be anywhere from 2 pages long to 15 pages long, everywhere in between. And what we do together is we take it to a 3 to 4 page, really polished, concise document, which typically includes a career highlight section, an executive summary at the top. This is a really great way to orient the reader with how you want them to see your experience. Ensure every bullet on your resume speaks to your impact versus your job responsibilities. List your relevant credentials, and so that can relate to your degrees, your licensure. If you've done other leadership development fellowships in this same space, this is a good place to include them. And create an easy to navigate document. Ways you can do that are by having section headers and consistent formatting. And I would recommend that when you are formatting your resume, I think 11 size font is the sweet spot. 10 is okay, 11 is best. And do have white space, because that makes it easy for the hiring team, the selection team, to read your resume. And then do consider an additional experience section where you can list older, less relevant roles. For example, I can likely assume that you've been a really compelling teacher, principal, or perhaps the director of a nonprofit 10, 15 years ago if you've continued to take on increasing levels of responsibility in the education space. So instead of spending 3 pages telling me every teaching role you've had, simply list the title, the school district, and the dates of employment. Here's some things to avoid. And these are just some of these practices used to be popular. They're now outdated. You no longer need to include your full address. City, state is all you need. Do not include your picture. This is a way, even though if you Google modern resume formats and they always have a picture, please do not do this. We strongly advise against it. You don't need to include an objective statement. Your objective is clear, that you want to join the Future Chiefs program. So instead, replace an objective statement with an executive summary or career highlight section at the top. You know, A boring resume that is black and white is still a professional, easy to read resume, so you don't need to use tables or tons of color or graphics to get the selection team's attention. What's going to get their attention is a ton of compelling data about your impact. And then again, avoid writing your job description. Instead, tell us about what you accomplished in each role. And then ideally, your resume should be 3 to 4 pages long. If you have to go to 5, it's okay, but ideally 3 to 4 pages long. And then please delete references or references available upon request. That is going to be clear to the selection team. And then please do not include a list of personal interests. And this is just a sample format. And I would recommend following very closely, where you start your resume with your contact information at the top, a headline such as your current job title, like Deputy Superintendent, Associate Superintendent. Then follow that with a career highlights section. This could be a paragraph, a few bullets explaining your career history and some of your biggest proof points in your career. Then we would encourage you to include your education, your training, licensure, and then spend the bulk of your resume on your relevant experience. And when we say relevant experience, we mean those senior level roles, which are clearly demonstrating your capacity to move into that chief level role in the next 1 to 2 years. And so this is just an example of what that could look like. So having the job title, having a short overview of your role, and we really want numbers. Don't assume we know exactly how large your school district is, or the budget you're managing right now, or the budget that your school district has. Please share those data points with us. So the number of students you serve, staff in your district, student demographics, such as the percentage of students on free and reduced lunch, et cetera, et cetera. And then we really recommend having some subheaders where you can organize your bullets, which show your capacity to move into this bigger chief role. So these are samples. So instructional leadership, governance, just like Pete said, this is incredibly valuable. And so we want to see examples of times that you've been involved in governance in your current district or education agency. Human capital. So again, we would recommend having bullets, which really speak to your impact in all of these sections. And then if you have awards and recognition, if you have publications, consider including those, and any board affiliation, you can include those in your resume as well. I'll pass it on to Barbara.
Thanks, Anna. So let's just talk for a minute about the addendum. The addendum actually supplements your resume. That is what you're going to be submitting to Chiefs for Change. Want to be very clear what the addendum should include and what it should not include. In essence, what is it that you haven't told us in your resume? For example, what initiatives demonstrate your ability to build coalitions? Something impressive that you want to make sure we are aware of. Or what do you need to explain in some instances to counter any negative narrative that might come up about your background? In essence, talk about your success working across different functions, your impact on staff and the results of your leadership. Board experience is extremely important to note. And do not include presentations, plans, reports, or letters. You can describe something, but please do not include actual documents, because we're asking for the addendums to be a maximum of 2 additional pages. And then I want to talk just briefly about the interview, just to give you some sense of understanding and hopefully to lessen some of your stress. It's been mentioned, a couple of these things have been mentioned already. And I think it's important to be clear, because this comes up or has come up in the past. When we use the term chief, we are speaking of the superintendent or the CEO of a district. I know the term chief may be used differently in your org structures, but you need to be reporting to the CEO or the chief of your school district, not the chief of operations, but the actual CEO of your district. When we use the term chief, that's who we're referring to. Do your homework about Chiefs for Change. If you look on our website, there's very critical information there. You ought to be able to express what you believe in and how it aligns to what Chiefs for Change stands for. Again, you want to tie your specific academic results to the outcomes. Don't just say that it was successful, but give us data, give us numbers. And remember, the level of the position is superintendent/chief. We're looking for a track record of success, not aspirational, what you would do, but what you have done. And keep this in mind, the STAR format helps you really hone in on your responses to the question. Give us the situation or the task, give us the action, give us the results. And answer the question that is actually asked. That will be helpful in your interview process. Wouldn't hurt also to research best practices for virtual interviewing, since that is our format. There may be some tips available for you there as well. I don't want you to be intimidated. We don't want you to be fearful. We want you to be informed so that you have a quality application for consideration. Good luck to each of you. Kim?
Thanks, Barbara. So as we close out the informational part of this webinar and move towards the question and answer period, wanted to make sure we're really clear about the deadline, the timeline, what you all can expect. We will open our application Thursday morning, January 18th, and we'll close our application on March 5th. And so would ask at that point that you log into chiefsforchange.org to find the portal to submit your application. Our hope is that we launch this cohort in July of 2024 after final notifications go out in May. If you have any questions about the application process, you should feel free to reach out to me directly at ktang@chiefsforchange.org or anyone on my team. We also recognize that there might be some leaders on this call right now that are also considering if they have folks in their cabinet, leaders in their cabinet that might be strong fits for a future chief. We ask at any point in time that you nominate any future chiefs through our website as well, in order for them to be considered for this cohort. With that, I want to open up the space for some questions, and I did notice some questions pop into the chat here. And so if the panel will allow me, I'll direct some of these questions towards you all. And as you all have more questions, feel free to continue to chat them in or email them to me. So the first question asks, and this one, Barbara, I'm going to send towards you. Are there any other demographic specific initiatives to support future chiefs?
So I'm assuming you're wondering if there are subgroups such as the women in leadership. At this time, there are not any additional individual subgroups. Where we found our greatest need was around females who were in our cohorts that were not experiencing the same level of success. And so that is the only additional subgroup that we have services for at this time. You may have noticed, Kim mentioned earlier, when we put together a cohort, we make sure it is a diverse group, both politically and by gender and by race and by geographic location across the country. We try to make sure there's a good mixture of those 8 to 10 individuals that are selected.
Thanks, Barbara. Gabby, I'm going to throw this next question at you, if you don't mind. It doesn't sound as if the Future Chief program is designed for those who are already superintendents. Is that correct? If not, how can the Future Chiefs program benefit someone who's already in the chief seat? Is there another path for current superintendents to become a part of Chiefs for Change?
So our program, you are correct that it is geared towards applicants in the cabinet, but also we have had future chiefs come through who have been chiefs. So if you are currently serving a district 10,000 students or less, you could benefit greatly from this program. And we've had chiefs come through who have come through our program and who have gotten larger chief jobs after becoming future chiefs.
And then there's a second part to this question. Is there another path for current superintendents to become a part of
Yes,
Chiefs?
if you are a current superintendent, you might be more aligned to being a member of Chiefs for Change. So you should actually take a look at our website and click on our member port and click on our member section and just read about our members who are in our network. If you are currently serving a district of 20,000 or larger, you could potentially qualify for membership status. And so if you are interested in learning more, there is a contact form on our website, or feel free to reach out to myself or Kay Tang, her email, and I'll drop all of our emails in the chat as well, and we can give you additional member information on our membership.
Great. Pete, I'm going to send this question to you. Is an addendum akin to what would traditionally be thought of as a cover letter?
No, it's not. An addendum is a way for you to share extra information. You could share an item or two that might be in a cover letter if it's not apparent from your resume, but it is not a cover letter. It is a way that you can share other information that you feel it is important for us to know. But it is not a data dump. Every once in a while, we'll have someone try to attach a series of things, and here's the strategic plan we did, and here's a link to a presentation I did for the Board of Ed. That is not what this is. This is a very select, focused piece. If there is quite specific information you think it would benefit us to know about you.
And I think, Pete, if you don't mind, it's also one of the things that we noticed is to not let the selection committee make assumptions or analyze the data themselves. The addendum is an opportunity for you to paint the narrative, if you will, and explain the information that you're putting in front of us. Gabby, how many candidates are accepted into the cohort?
Each cohort, we will accept between 8 and 10 candidates.
Thank you. And Barbara, could you help this group differentiate between what makes our superintendent's program particularly unique as opposed to maybe some other ones that they might join?
Certainly, there are incredible programs across the country that we are familiar with, and some that we also, as individuals, might have connections to or assist with. I think the biggest difference in the Chiefs for Change is what Pete mentioned earlier. When you enter as a future chief, it means you are ready to launch. It means you're ready to aggressively go after vacancies to become a superintendent. Some of the other programs go through preparation, but they will not be immediately assisting you with the application process. It's just not a part of what they do. Chiefs for Change will not only prepare you, but immediately help you to start the application process and then coach you through actually attaining the job and supporting you once you get the job.
Thank you, Barbara. Gabby, are there fees associated with participation if one is selected?
Good question. If you are selected, there are no fees associated with our program. We've been very fortunate to have philanthropy that supports our future chief work, so there are no fees associated for the participants.
Thank you. And Pete, do you have to have an administrative position that reports directly to the superintendent of schools to be eligible for the Chiefs for Change program?
While you don't have to report directly to the superintendent, we do find quite often that it makes it difficult for you to get experiences that would position you best to be a heartbeat away from the superintendency. For example, we have people who come to us and are interested, and when we talk about and ask different things, they say, well, I've not been involved with that. The superintendent and their direct reports do. You don't have to report to the superintendent, but the experiences need to meet a level where you are ready to move into that next realm. Ask yourself, have I been in board presentations? Am I in closed session? When the superintendent is meeting with the closest group to develop strategy, those types of things best position you to understand the overarching works. But who you report to is not always the determinant of that.
And Barbara, how does this program support leaders who want to lead state education agencies?
Excellent question. So when we use the term chief, pardon my being so narrow, when we use the term chief, it refers to superintendents and state superintendents. So local school district leadership, CEO position, as well as state CEO or superintendent positions. And so each of our cohorts always has one or two individuals who are seeking state leadership positions. Great question we failed to mention.
Thank you. I have a few questions here, Gabby, related to some participants on this call who aren't yet reporting to the superintendent, but are certainly rising leaders. Could you speak a little bit about the Rising Stars program?
Yeah, definitely. So this year we've actually launched a new leadership development initiative called Rising Stars. And it's an initiative for education leaders who have recently joined the K through 12 system cabinet or on the cusp of doing so. It is a professional development program, whereas future chiefs, we help you get the top spot in a state or district. Our Rising Stars program is strictly a professional development program. We pair you up with a coach in our network so that you get monthly coaching to help you really strengthen your skills in your current position. We are actually going through our first cohort of that right now. And in about 6 months, we will be announcing our application for our next cohort of the Rising Stars initiative. I'm happy to connect with anyone offline who would like to learn additional information about that initiative.
Great, thank you. And Pete, is the addendum a bulleted list?
It can be. It can be, but the question is, those bullets, might those not have been on your resume? If it can explain something in a context deep enough with those bullets, that's fine. But quite often, it might be a brief paragraph to explain something from a bullet in the resume that makes it more meaningful. For example, let me give you an example. We had a case where one time a person put in their addendum about the district transitioning from state control to district control, which brought about changes in individuals' positions and titles as it switched from being part of one group to another. Too lengthy and involved to include in a traditional resume, but that bit of nuance made it crystal clear for us, aha, that was a lateral position as the organization changed. We understood it better because the addendum provided that clarification. It's that type of piece where you can go a little bit deeper. Often a bullet's just not enough.
Anna, do you have any recommendations around the resume given that scenario? Is there anything that you would recommend that candidates do on their resume itself?
It can be really helpful in the overarching statement about one's role. So I showed a slide where there was like a sample structure. And so it was like chief academic officer, name of district. And then there was like in italics, a couple of sentences under where the writer of the resume would want to include, report directly to the superintendent, oversee these 8 functions and a team of XY people. And then there could be like one sentence explaining, served with the district through this particular transition. And so there could be just one sentence to highlight it. And that would actually be a really great way for the selection team to know, ooh, I hope I get a little bit more context about that. Otherwise, they might have to spend a lot of time researching, Googling to understand more of the political context at the time, which they don't have time for. And so they miss out on that.
Thank you, Anna. Barbara, could you speak to the group a little bit about the expectations around the time commitment?
So the Future Chiefs, I'm assuming it's about the Future Chiefs program.
Yes.
So Kim spoke earlier about the actual timeline for the selection process. There's an 18-month period once you are selected, from selection to completion. There's an 18-month period where you will be meeting every other month with the cohort. You'll be gathering in different cities. I believe the cohort most recently met in Los Angeles, but we move across the country to make sure no one's at a disadvantage for travel. But all of those expenses are paid for, and those meetings are specifically to cover parts of our curriculum that help prepare you for the job. Time commitment outside of that includes doing research and preparing for interviews. We give great support. We give workbooks. We give background to help you actually prepare for interviews. So your commitment is also going to be offline as you are preparing for specific interviews. Kim, I don't know if you're actually going to give them an idea of what the schedule looks like for the upcoming cohort and how many times they are actually due to meet. I don't know that we have all of that solidified yet. I'll defer to you.
Yeah, so we come together as a cohort 4 times throughout your cohort experience as a cohort, but virtually every single month, which is what Barbara laid out for you all. As Barbara mentioned, related to the search prep, we make sure and we really want to ensure that all of our future chiefs are fully prepared for every search. So on top of having a regular executive coach, you would also have a search coach and potentially a communications coach to support you. And then in the last 6 months of the cohort experience, we also put together shadowing experiences, which are one-on-one experiences with our members. Pete, Gabby, did I miss anything? I think truthfully, there's a lot that goes into the Future Chiefs context, and I think Pete would probably tell you that it ebbs and flows. You will have months where you just see Pete, and then you will have months where you see Pete and Barbara every single day. What it feels like. Pete, Gabby.
There's a seasonality to it. While there are searches that go on year round, there is a search season, and we are heading into it full on right now. Coming off of COVID, we saw for a few years that the seasonality expanded, but there are times where we see individuals virtually every day as we help prepare them for the job search process. We have a secret sauce in how we prepare people, and we'll make it pretty blatant. We outwork everyone, and we will work you hard in the process. We will work you hard in the process, but you'll be more prepared than all the other candidates for the process.
Y'all thought that was a simple question, but it definitely is not when it comes to our Future Chief program. I think it's important to note that the reason why we only select 8 to 10 people, and the reason why all of us are on this call right now, is that we dedicate a lot of our time and energy into each person, and we're committed to your leadership in the short and long term. There's a question here that from a participant that's asking, once a future chief becomes a chief or superintendent, do they automatically get status as a Chiefs for Change member? Gabby, can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, so once a future chief becomes a chief, it does not automatically give someone membership status. We do have a selection process that all of our membership goes through. But once you're a future chief or a future chief, you are in our network. And so there are slates of supports that you do receive as a new chief in our network. For example, once you land that top spot, we have what we call a strategic support visit, where Pete and your coach and members will come into your new district and help with your transition with your new team and your new district. And that's something that's only offered for newly placed future chiefs. But we do have a membership selection process that is separate from our future chief selection process.
Barbara, do principals who report directly to the superintendent in a district with less than 5K students qualify for future chiefs?
So in all honesty, it's not likely because your experiences will probably not be as impressive as someone who serves on a superintendent's cabinet. But never say never. Let's say you are a principal, but also handling all of the logistics because it's a very small district and you're really serving as a chief operating officer. Depending on your responsibilities, it could be impressive enough to qualify as a viable candidate. In all likelihood, principals are not going to be strong candidates able to compete with those who are at a cabinet level position.
Thank you, Barbara. Pete, what does support look like once a participant steps into the superintendency?
Once you step into the superintendency, we continue to support you. You get a coach assigned to you, as well as you continue the coaching with the future chief coaches. Our coaches normally come out of our chief and resident cadre, who are all experienced veteran principals with a track record of success. We support you through a strategic support team visit, where we bring a cadre of superintendents to your district to work with you, and if you should so choose, your senior leadership team, for a strategy session of a day and a half that brings some of the best thinkers to town to work with you. We assist you with working through, as you implement your entry plan, how you report out your entry plan. So the support continues with you once you are in there. We have that coach that stays with you for the next a year. And with that, then, in most cases, you've then built relationships and bonds with individuals that you've grown your support network enormously.
Kim, if I could just insert, I think it's because we were just talking about principals, and Pete said that our coaches are veteran principals.
Oh, did I? Geez, Zooey. Veteran superintendents. Thanks, Barbara. Veteran superintendents. These are folks who've led some of the largest, most complex districts in the nation and have a track record of district-wide increasing student achievement and running effective and efficient operations. Thank you, Barbara.
And actually, Barbara, the next question's for you. Speaking of which, what other opportunities do future chiefs receive to be able to network with other future chiefs and members?
So the Future Chiefs group is going to have those monthly video calls, certainly. If you're talking about the actual chiefs, once they are put together in a group, they have an annual meeting, as do our future chief cohorts. And then when we can't get together actually in person, we use the wonder of technology to make sure that we have video calls as well. So Women in Leadership have virtual calls. The actual sitting chiefs have virtual calls, and the future chiefs have virtual calls as well. In most instances, we require participation for those who are being sponsored in the Future Chiefs program, because you are sponsored by our philanthropic support. Once you are an actual chief, we encourage participation, but you select based on the level of interest for the topic that is being covered at the time. Our Women in Leadership sometimes even have very casual gatherings. When we can't be together in person, we have what we call wind downs, opportunities for women to engage and just support and interact with one another in a very casual setting on a Friday evening from time to time. So there is no loss of lack of opportunities for chiefs and future chiefs to get together on a pretty regular basis. Some required or mandatory for those in the Future Chiefs program, and some more on a voluntary, as needed or as interested basis.
Great. And Barbara, while we have you, could you also just speak to a little bit of about the Women in Leadership programming? What does it entail? What are potentially some of the topics that have come up in the past?
We don't have any topics that are off limit. Quite often we survey our women in leadership, both those who are looking to get into the job and those who are currently in the superintendent's job. We will survey them to see what's on their radar, what's their greatest concern, where do they need help and support. And we will bring in veteran superintendents to share their career path and some do's and don'ts about being successful in the job. We've talked recently about how do you protect your brand? How do you make sure you're dealing with the media and public relations issues appropriately? And then how do you consider your career path going forward if you're nearing the end of your superintendency? But more than anything, that group serves as a support mechanism for other women who are doing the work, because clearly for females in the leadership position, the challenges are quite often different or more nuanced, if you will, than males that are doing the job. And so there is nothing off limit. It's usually based upon surveys of the group on what their latest interests are. It may be around how do you negotiate your contract, and what's a reasonable salary to ask for, and what are some of the fail-safe bits of language that need to be included in order to protect you in the job. More lately, we've had issues around how do you best manage relationships with board members. But as I said, there is nothing off limits. It's based on the needs of the group of women. And basically, it supports what they're learning in the heterogeneous group of our Chiefs for Change.
Thank you, Barbara. Pete, for sitting superintendents who are in districts of 10K or less, and they're ready for their next role in a larger district, will there be help in the best ways to communicate with their current board during the application process, especially if the search processes are public?
We do help with strategizing for that, but at the same point in time, that is context specific depending on your relationship with your board. And with that, you have to think through at this point in time, are you in a position where you could afford to be in a search, which could become public? And with that as a backdrop, we see many districts that tell us that they're going to do a confidential search, but then they get close to the end of the line and they come to us and say, we have decided that we need to bring the final 2 candidates public, the final 1 candidate public. Yes, we can help you think that through, but there is no fail-safe methodology because it is tough to go back and tell that board you are madly in love with the district when they have seen you out courting another district. So just understand there are challenges. That is spoken from someone who has gone courting and had the board see them do it about 15 years ago when I went to Charlotte.
I would also name, as part of answering this question, we do require that you let your direct supervisor know that you've applied for future chiefs, because we also ask them for a recommendation. So if you are not prepared to have the conversation with your board president, if you report to a board, this may not be the year for you, but you should navigate that on a case-to-case basis. We, as part of our final step, we do ask and we do pick up the phone to make sure that nothing stands in your way from actually moving into a larger size district or into a superintendency. Pete, one final question here. Can you share more about the types of questions we'll be asking during the interview? What are the best ways to prepare for those?
The best ways to prepare for those is for you to think about, what does it take to be a successful superintendent? It is not directly a superintendent interview, but we will be touching on the areas that will be needed for you to be a successful applicant to be a superintendent, to see how close you are. And with that, not aspirationally, but we are looking for concrete exemplars. Tell me about a time when you were involved in making difficult budget decisions within your district and you helped strategy and priority creation with the budget. Now, I could have said, tell me about a time you had to make budget reductions, but superintendents don't just make budget reductions. They come up with strategies and processes for budget reductions that are broader. We're looking for the broader approach to those things. That's the type of questions we're going to ask. Are you ready? Have you been involved in the broader level pieces within a district?
Great. So as we begin to close off this space, Anna, Barbara, Pete, I'm going to put you on the spot one last time. Would like for you each to offer one piece of advice about the application process to this group as they start to think about both applying and moving through the process. Anna, I'll start with you, and Barbara, you're going to be our closer.
So again, I'll go back to, what is the problem? here, and Pete just continues to outline it so well, right? The problem is we need people who are ready to step into that role, to not be so narrow. So you're going to need to position yourself to be the chief executive officer of a district or state education agency. And so all aspects of your application, from your resume, from your essay answers, they need to explicitly and clearly communicate your capacity to do the work. Don't assume we're going to know you're amazing because we might be familiar with your district or the role, or because we know the person who referred you. Don't assume that we will go in with all of those assumptions. You need to tell us in a very explicit way. So best of luck to all of you applying this year.
Thank you, Anna. Pete?
My piece of advice is hopefully you are absolutely ready to go for this, but it could also be used as an opportunity, if the moment's not right, to create your roadmap for cohort 9 and decide what do you need, because we're going to be right back out there and not too far into the future, a year and a half from now, or a year, whatever that time frame is, looking for our next cohort. And it could be the final pieces to get you ready. So when you are ready, we will be ready for you. Make sure you are truly ready before you apply.
Thank you, Pete. And Barbara?
So I want to be clear. I want to be honest with each of you listening. If you're currently in the role, you already know this. If you're in a smaller district, if you're in at a state Department of Education and looking to lead it, the work is not easy. I don't want anyone to think that we are somehow simplifying the whole application process to get to the CEO of a large school district is simple and easy work. I want to be very clear that it is challenging work, but it is critical. And if you are at a cabinet level position at a state department or in a school district, the chances are good that you are capable of doing the work. And I want to emphasize, for women, we will wait and wait and wait before we actually apply. Chances are you are capable and should be launching into looking for a superintendent's position. But here's the thing. If you don't have what we call fire in the gut, a passion that you want to do the work, knowing all of the challenges that are on the forefront today for public education, then you should not pursue it. If you have a passion and a fire in your gut, like I have to do it, there's nothing else that would attract me other than being the leader of a state level or a district Department of Education, then we want to encourage you to apply. Don't want to frighten you off. We just want to be frank. The work is challenging, but you are capable. You see, our democracy depends on educated citizens. I believe public education is the linchpin to our democracy, and we have to have talented individuals willing to take on those leadership roles. And many of you listening have got to take on the role. You're destined to do it, and we believe in you. So good luck to each of you as you pursue this possibility.
Thank you, Barbara. And I can't think of a better way to end this panel tonight. So just want to gently remind everyone that the application opens in 2 days, Thursday, the 18th. Please log onto our website to find the portal, and we wish you the best of luck in your application. Have a good evening.